There's an old Dutch saying, God created the earth, but the Dutch created the Netherlands. Have you ever questioned how such a small nation as the Netherlands managed to become one of the richest in the world? The Dutch have transformed their country from a collection of low-lying, prone-to-flooding soil into one that is not only rich, but also a role model for the rest of the globe. From the golden age of the 17th century to contemporary inventions that maintain the Netherlands as the forefront of international trade, we reveal the secrets of the Dutch economic miracle in today's video. So, keep watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. There are a little over 17 million people living in this tiny nation in Northern Europe. Because a sizable portion of the country is below sea level, it's renowned for its engineering feats to deal with the difficulties of ongoing floods. It's also famous for being among the most prosperous and stable nations in the world. The World Bank calculated that by 2017, it had a GDP per capita that was $48,000 more than those of nations like Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. What factors then account for the riches of the Netherlands? How was the Dutch economic miracle nearly destroyed when a natural gas resource was discovered? And how did a tiny nation rise to become the second largest food exporter in the world? And what is the Rotterdam effect? We'll explain it in this video. Trade is one of the factors that contribute to the Netherlands' economic success. The largest port in Europe and its major port, the port of Rotterdam, came in at number 10 on a list of the busiest ports in the world in 2019, beating out the port of Los Angeles in the United States. In addition to the Netherlands and Europe, the port of Rotterdam is crucial for the import and export of goods and raw materials. Due to its critical significance to the German economy, the majority of the raw materials used by German industry enter through the port of Rotterdam. It's frequently referred to as the largest German port. However, the Netherlands is accustomed to the value of trade and the fact that it has the most significant port in all of Europe. For ages, the Dutch have used commerce on a global scale as their principal ally. Since the 17th century, the Dutch shipbuilding sector has grown quickly, and nearly every province has access to windmills, a cheap source of electricity. Additionally, the development of the wind-powered sawmill made it possible to process shipbuilding timber swiftly. This made Amsterdam's port the center of European commerce and made it possible to form the Dutch East India Company, then the world's biggest corporation in 1602. It was something like the first multinational with 150 trading ships, 50,000 employees, an army of 10,000 men, and 40 warships. It was like another state within the Netherlands. It had monopoly privileges and was sometimes granted colonizing functions on other continents. But the most important achievement of the Netherlands was that the Dutch East India Company obtained a monopoly on trade with Japan, and in turn, through Japan, managed to trade indirectly with China. And that was significant because these Asian countries traditionally distrusted the intentions of Western traders. So for many years, this Dutch company was the only entrance to the Western world to Japan, which gives the Netherlands exclusivity to trade exotic goods from Asia throughout Europe. Therefore, from that time on, the north of what would become today the Netherlands would become one of the main intermediaries in international trade. In general, the Republican government of that time was in favor of free trade and the autonomy of each of the 7 provinces that were part of the country. It was also tolerant of the establishment of immigrants who were discriminated against in other parts of Europe, such as Jewish merchants and French Protestants. Bankers from northern Italy also arrived. All these educated immigrants contributed to making Amsterdam the world's financial, commercial center of the 17th century. In fact, the world's first stock exchange was established in Amsterdam, and that financial development also explains the current level of wealth in the Netherlands. The residents of that country were famous for their handling of finance and commercial credit. They created products and mechanisms for more and more people to access stock market investment. This attracted investors from all over Europe, so capital was abundant. And, as a consequence of the abundant capital, interest rates were lower than in other parts of Europe. But this is not a thing of the past. Today, the Netherlands remains an excellent destination for investors and companies seeking stability and relatively low taxes. This is why Amsterdam made headlines in early 2021, when the United Kingdom left the European Union, as the Amsterdam Stock Exchange overtook the London Stock Exchange as the largest stock trading centre in Europe. However, this friendliness to investment and private initiative not only benefits foreign capital, as claimed by those who consider the Netherlands as a simple tax haven, in one way or another, this environment stimulates the Dutch entrepreneurial spirit. According to the 2019 Global Entrepreneurship Index, the Netherlands ranked 8th with the best score among 137 countries evaluated. In short, free trade, respect for the cult diversity of immigrants, and having created the first stock exchange has attracted traders, investors, and entrepreneurs for centuries. In addition, its privileged location in the centre of Europe and having wealthy neighbours such as Germany, Belgium, the United Kingdom, and Denmark are reasons that may partly explain why this country is so rich and enjoys the best quality of life indicators. However, as in all countries, the Dutch economy went through a difficult period. In the 1970s, the Netherlands discovered large deposits of natural gas in the North Sea. This, on the one hand, reduced external dependence on energy sources, but on the other hand, this sudden increase in wealth turned out to be a curse, because it contributed to an unsustainable expansion of the welfare state. Public spending increased from 40% of GDP in 1973 to 58% in 1983. That money was invested in generous social programs that encouraged healthy people to leave their jobs to rely on state benefits. Unemployment rose from 5% to over 17% in a few years, and economic growth was virtually zero despite natural gas revenues. Consensus on an urgent change in economic policy direction was reached in the early 1980s, with an agreement between labour unions and employers. Wage increases and social benefits were moderated to stimulate labour participation and job creation. Public spending was also reduced. And indeed, the unemployment rate had fallen by the end of the 1980s to levels of 5%. The idea had begun to spread that the creation of private jobs was the best social policy. The unemployment rate would rise again to 7% in 2014, but in 2020, in the middle of a global recession, it was only 3.8%, one of the lowest among all OECD countries. Sometimes, due to the success of employment generation policies, the Dutch case has been considered one of the employment miracles, along with other countries such as Switzerland, Australia, and Ireland. But if there is a miracle in this country, it's that it is the second largest exporter of food in the world with such a small territory. The climate, fertile soil, and flat land make the Netherlands a perfect place for agriculture. Crops grow relatively easily, but perhaps the most important feature of Dutch agriculture is the use of technology and mechanization of processes. They use robots and machines for almost everything. Their skilled labor force also plays an important role in this field. Wageningen University is the best agriculture education institute in the world. It has numerous research facilities where they are constantly looking for more efficient ways of farming. So it's not surprising that much of the agricultural production is done behind closed doors in huge, state-of-the-art greenhouses. So innovation, geographical conditions, and skilled labor explain part of the Dutch export success. However, there is another reason. Re-exports account for over 60% of the goods that enter the Netherlands and depart it quickly. This phenomenon is referred to as the Rotterdam effect, after the Dutch port that was discussed earlier. It's quicker and less expensive for some nations to import goods through the Dutch port. Less than half the exports in 2015 were for domestic consumption. The remainder were re-exports, which are goods from other countries that just pass through the port but are statistically counted as exports from the Netherlands. This Rotterdam impact, in essence, increased the volume of food exports from this European nation. Its status as one of the most innovative, free, and rich nations in the world remains unaffected by this, nevertheless. We hope you liked learning about the history of the Netherlands and how this small nation in Northern Europe got to be one of the richest countries in the world. From the Dutch East India Company and the Dutch Republic's support for free commerce and tolerance of immigrants, to its importance in international trade and the port of Rotterdam being the largest in Europe, and from its remarkable engineering solutions to deal with persistent flooding, it is clear that the Dutch built the Netherlands. The Netherlands is a shining example of how a small country can achieve great wealth and prosperity through innovation, hard work, and a forward-thinking attitude. We hope you've learned something new from today's video and that you enjoyed it. Did you know the Netherlands was such a rich country? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more, and give this video a thumbs up. See you in the next one.